Hi, everybody. It's Erica from In the Company of Cards. Welcome. If you're new, welcome back if you've been here. Um, if you've been here before, you know I use Lenormand, the European card system, to look at the issues of the day. So I have a few that I thought I would look at. But before I do that, I just wanted to thank you all for the many, many wonderful comments on the last video and on the previous ones as well. I really appreciate all your kind words and your support of my work. So thank you so much. So there are one, two, three, um, I guess three issues that I want to look at, maybe four. Uh, and they will all be ones that will be familiar to you. So the first one has to do with Pete Hegseth. You know that early on in this administration, this nightmare that we're all in, I did a bunch of readings on Pete Hegseth, and in every single one, I saw that his tenure would not be a long one. Um, and yet he's had, gaffe after gaffe, I guess I'll call them gaffes, and has emerged unscathed. But this latest gaffe, what I want to look at with the cards is whether this will be his undoing. Because again, I do see him leaving the administration soon. Could this be the thing that is the death blow? So, just the shorthand version, of course, is that um, he apparently ordered that weapons stop being sent to, that we stop sending weapons to Ukraine. Uh, Now, why did this even come up as a thing? Well, because now 47, of course, is mad at Putin. And so he is now turning his sights towards Ukraine and wants to uh, sort of send them more than we've been sending them. But come to find out, we had stopped sending weapons altogether. And so 47 was asked about this, and he said he didn't know anything about it. Well, it turns out that Hegseth apparently is the one who said, yeah, stop sending arms to Ukraine. So it looks like, and 47 was asked about this, it looks like Hegseth is essentially making his own policy as opposed to making policy suggestions that 47 could say yes or no to. He didn't consult 47. He just said, stop sending those weapons. Well, when 47 was asked about it, his answer was quite convoluted. He said, yeah, no, I didn't order that. But if that happened, I would have known about it and I would have been the one to order it. But he wasn't the one to order it. Hegseth was. So this is a little bit of Hegseth stepping out of his place, acting above himself, as you might say, and making a fool out of 47. And one of the things that we know narcissists hate is being made a fool of. Entertainment purposes only, and allegedly, as they say. So I would like to look at Hegseth's trajectory. Is he long for this administration or not? Remember, 47 wanted him in that position, head of the Defense Department, because he thought that he looked the part. 47 felt that Hegseth looked the part in a kind of a quote, central casting kind of a way. But clearly, Hegseth doesn't know what he's doing, which is bad enough. But then he's doing stuff that he does not have permission to do, that is the purview of the president. So how will he fare having done this? So I'm going to use, he's not old, but he's not young. I'm going to use the young man anyway because he's impetuous and he's thoughtless and he's you know not Not the sharpest knife in the drawer, I don't think, but I'm going to use the younger man for Hegseth, and I just want to see what's coming in for him. Looking for the younger. Oh, popped right up. I didn't even get a chance to say like, share, subscribe, but please do all of the above. I really appreciate it. I love how quickly this channel's grown, and I love the community that we've got here. All right, so here he is, Hegseth. Here's the two cards that come before him, and these are the two cards that come after him. And I think I'm going to have to draw clarifiers. So let's see. Okay. So our line of five is the moon, crossroads. Here's Hegseth. This is the house, in this case, standing for the White House. And then we have the child. So this line tells me that Hegseth's reputation has kind of gone sideways as far as 47 is concerned. He thought one thing about him, but now he's starting to think another. We have Hegseth in the middle. This is the White House. And then this last card is interesting because it's the child. I can mirror these two cards together, the moon and the child. I think that he is, as I said before I even pulled cards, he is naive. He is impetuous. He is immature in his conduct. You know, the signal conversations, with his wife and his brother and his lawyer. I mean, what are you doing? Um, he's a babe in the woods in terms of the Defense Department. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's very clear. This is reputation, and this is that he's just not up for this job. Um, we have Crossroads, and then we have this White House, and I suspect that. Um, Well, again, I think that 47 thinks differently about Hegseth than he did before. He was on the straight and narrow about him for the longest time, but now that he's embarrassed 47, I think 47 is thinking quite differently about Hegseth. So let's go back to the moon. This is reputation. So we have 47, we have Clover, and we have the sun. Now, Clover and Sun, generally, they're such nice cards, right? But a card is just a card, like a word is just a word, until you put it together with other words, or in this case, put it together with other cards. So this is 47, thinking about how he's feeling about Hegseth and who he is and how he's representing the Defense Department and by extension, how he is representing 47. And this has happened quickly, quickly, that 47 says, oh, I see what I didn't want to see before. It's very clear now, and like overnight. Like I thought he was great. I thought he was fine. I thought he was central casting. But like overnight, now that I get told that he gave an order about where arms should not go without consulting me, all of a sudden I see what everybody's saying about him. Okay. Second card was the crossroads. So this is the card for choices. And the clarifiers are the book, the garden, and the whip. So, 47 is really invested in Hegseth and in Hegseth being successful. Everybody told him it was a bad choice. So of course that means he wants to dig his heels in more and support Hegseth. But now he really is presented with a choice and he doesn't know what to do. The book is about things we don't know. But there will be a continued hue and cry from the public. And the public, by the way, doesn't just mean you and me. It also means people in, for example, the Defense Department, people in the administration, other people who feel like Hegseth is nothing but an embarrassment and a detriment to 47. So there will be some arguments about this. He doesn't know what to do yet, but you know, here we are in the center, though. We move forward in time, chronological time. Here's Hegseth right in the middle, and look at the cards: the cross, the scale, and the scythe. Hegseth has caused 47 no small amount of angst and pain and difficulty, right? And so when he weighs things up in the end, as I have seen every single time I've read on Hegseth, Hegseth is going to get the axe. Okay, fourth card is the house. Clarifiers are the mountain, the stork, and birds. So I think he will be banned from being not just in the administration, but banned from the orbit of 47. But also, I think 47 will hold off as long as he can in doing this. This is a card for like delay. But it's also a block. So I think both. I think when he finally decides to cut Hegseth loose, he will be cut loose. And effectively, there will be a mountain between him and 47. There will be people who say, hooray, thank goodness. And I'm sure a lot of those people are in the Defense Department. The stork is about positive change, and there will be a lot of chatter behind the scenes about, like, thank God he's gone. So that's what I think will happen. Again, he is a detriment because he is unprepared for the job. He's unprepared, he's immature, he's just, we won't talk about the drinking issues because, allegedly. Clarifiers are the lily, the star, and then the woman. Now, this is the young woman. I should one of these days do a reading on somebody I used to read on a bit back in the day with who all, Laura Loomer, because she is very influential. For all we know, Laura Loomer could have um, an influence in how fast 47 gets rid of him. Just because he's creating so much controversy that if to get rid of him would just lay that to rest, give that issue some peace, moving forward into the future. So I don't know. I think Laura Loomer may be in 47's ear and she may say, yeah, cut him loose, cut Hegseth loose. So my readings are consistent. I think Hegseth will be fired. Um, don't ask when because cards can't say when. Um, but he will not last the full tenure of this administration. And I think he is inching closer and closer to being fired. Doing stupid stuff is one thing, and he's done some stupid stuff that has been dangerous to the country. But in 47's eyes, if you make him look bad, which mind you is not that hard to do, but anyway, um, that's the kiss of death. So, okay, the next person that I'd like to look at is Pam Bondi. Now, I looked at her the other day, and but again, she seems to have dug herself a deeper hole. Now, she is the ultimate 47 sycophant. Sycophant, meaning she does anything that he wants her to do. And I mean anything. And we know that she said that she had the Epstein file or list, whatever she said she had on her desk. Next thing she says is it doesn't exist. Now, why did she say that? Because 47 is probably so deeply woven into the fabric of any file, Epstein file, that the best course of action to her way of thinking, and I'm sure to 47's, is to just say, what are you talking about? What do you mean? It never happened. It never existed. I mentioned that there is a hue and cry from both the right and the left about this whole thing. And you know, he likes Pam Bondi because, she did him a solid uh, in Florida. Uh, she she is at his beck and call for anything he wants. She's his personal Roy Cohn. I mean, she's one of his henchmen. The problem is if he gets rid of her over this Epstein thing, because people are coming for her head. Uh, I know Laura Loomer can't stand her. If people are coming for her head, okay, but then 47 would have to replace her. And I think he would be hard pressed to find someone as sycophantic as she has been. So do you stay with the devil you know, or do you go to the deep blue sea and pray that you can find somebody who is as corrupt as she is? Entertainment purposes only and allegedly. So let's look at Pam Bondi's fate. Now, she looks, because of her plastic surgery and hair dye and all that, she looks considerably younger than she actually is. So you know, uh, we're gonna use truth in advertising here, and I'm gonna use the older woman card for Pam Bondi, and let's see what her fate looks like as a result of this Epstein thing. Now, what they've decided to do is to try to um, sort of shift the MAGA base's attention away from Epstein to people like Comey and Brennan. Comey and Brennan are not prosecutable, but that won't stop Pam Bondi from prosecuting them. What they are misreading is that go ahead and go after Comey and Brennan, but people are still going to say, excuse me, what about Epstein? What about that file? I voted for you because I thought you were going to release that file. What about that file? So I don't think that people are as distractible. Even the MAGA people are as distractible as 47 would like to think that they are. So can Bondi distract successfully, or is her head going to have to roll over this Epstein situation? So we'll use the older woman and we'll look at her. So here's Pam Bondi. She likes a tan, so there you go. Ooh, I don't really feel like pulling a whole million cards on her, but we have we have the birds. Now, one of the things that birds is gossip. And God knows people are gossiping about this file that supposedly never existed, but of course it does exist, did exist. Even if they got rid of it, there are people who know what names were on that list. I mean, including you and me. And we know, you know who was on the list, 47. We know that they were good buddies. We've seen with our own eyes the video. So this has created a lot of gossip and um, backbiting and just recrimination and hostility from the MAGA crowd towards the administration, towards Pam Bondi, towards Kash Patel, towards Patel's lieutenant, Benino, all of whom said they were going to get to the bottom of the whole Epstein thing. And now all of a sudden, what Epstein thing? So this talk. Um, I mean, it's not stopping. In fact, if anything, it's kind of revving up. And no sort of deflection towards Comey and Brennan and any potential prosecutions of them is going to work. Second card is the tree. Here's Bondi, here's the coffin, and here's the whip. So, uh, this talk, first of all, I mean, the talk about Epstein and his island and these girls and who was in on this has been, I mean, it's been going on for some considerable time, right? The talk has been going on and on and on and on and on. Bondi was tasked with shutting it down, burying it. But instead of it being buried, it just has whipped people into a frenzy. So I guess I am going to pull some cards because she tried to bury it. That didn't work. So let's just see if we can see more about her fate. And I will say that just as I have seen that Hegseth would not last in the administration, that he would be fired, I actually have not seen that for Bondi, and I have read on her several times. I've seen her not just lasting in her job, but even after this administration is over, however that happens, I've seen her thriving, whether she's on corporation boards or wherever. I've seen her paying no real price. So here she is, the clarifiers for her, the garden, the moon, and the man. I think that in terms of her, she will just put on this public face of, you know, it doesn't exist. And it doesn't exist because I say it doesn't exist. And if you don't like it, that's too bad because I'm the Attorney General and I say it never existed. That's her stance towards the public. She's not going to get off that dime for anything. Remember, she was asked to bury it. Clarifiers, the mountain, the rider, and 47. I think 47 is actually grateful to her for her unequivocal stance. You said bury it, sir, consider it buried. I will block any further inquiry into it. Because remember, she is one of those ones who always plays to an audience of one. So the message, she doesn't care what we think. She doesn't even care what MAGA thinks. All she cares about is that in the eyes of her boss, she shut that whole thing down. Okay. Final card, fifth card was the whip, and the clarifiers are the bear, the White House, and then the scale. And, for all of the frenzy, remember that we can mirror this frenzied arguments that back and forth and MAGA all frothed up. For all of that, he can say, well, I'm the president, and that's what I say. And she can say, and I'm the attorney general, and, you know, pound sand, because I'm the boss of you. If I say it doesn't exist, it doesn't exist. Uh, I mean, they're having to weigh um, that argument over and against the gossip. And I think that they will just try to weather the storm, turn people's attention elsewhere, like to a prosecution of Comey or Brennan and whoever. Um, and just, because this is actually 47's modus operandi. He will just say something. And I think he read somewhere that if you repeat something 4 times, people will believe it. It doesn't matter that it's not true. If you say it 4 times with conviction and self-assurance, people will believe it. That's what that's Pam Bondi's uh, method, it seems, and that's 47's. What file? There was no file. There was never a file. Who and what army is going to tell me different? So I continue to think that she will be fine. I don't think she will pay any kind of consequence for this. All right. Um, Now, I wanted to look at one more thing, which has to do with Florida. So, um, and I'm getting my people mixed up. Is this Kristi Noem? Kristi Noem is Homeland Security. Um, so I don't think it's she. What's that other woman's name? Oh God. Uh, yeah, it is Kristi Noem. Okay, so Kristi Noem. So, now what's going on in Texas, aside from the fact that, they're mourning the dead and trying to find the bodies and all of that, is that the blame game is going on, right? And this is between the federal government and state government. Now, I will say this, Greg Abbott is a jerk. That's the governor, entertainment purposes only, and allegedly. He sat on money that should have been distributed to the. He's a state governor. He had the money to distribute it to the state. He did. He sat on it. But beyond that, and the federal government, of course, is blaming Abbott and the state for the loss of life, the failure of warnings, and all that. But Christi Noem is the federal person responsible. And she made a rule that any expenditure over $100,000 had to be approved personally by her, had to get her signature. Well, one of the things that this meant was that FEMA was unable to have um, urban search and rescue crews in position. Because why? If she's got to approve everything over $100,000, that's probably a lot of things that she's got to approve. And she didn't get around to approving it, which means that they did not have the money, FEMA did not have the money to have the search and rescue crews on site in a timely manner. So the question is, because there was not authorization in time, the question is, will her head roll? Will she suffer any kind of consequence um, as a result of, um, this rule that she passed? So let's see. We'll use the older woman for her too. She's another one that's had a lot of work done, if you know what I mean. Entertainment purposes only, and allegedly, but I mean, I know what I see with my eyes. Will she suffer any uh, job consequence for not for having instituted this $100,000 rule, which, I mean, contributed to this death toll in Texas. So this time that woman is going to stand for Christi Noem. How secure is her position? And so this time this is Christi Noem. You know, she's another one whom 45 put in place because, according to him, she looks like central casting, and she's very caught up in what she looks like, and wearing the outfits and the looking like an ICE agent and having hair and makeup people on site while they go on raids. But anyway, the cards are the letter, the dog, that's Christi Noem, the bear, and the White House. I think that she will be defended, protected, and I think Governor Abbott will be made to take the fall for this uh, debacle in Texas. I don't think Christi Noem, he's going to protect her no matter what. 47, he'll protect Christi Noem. Okay, so we've got one down, which is Hegseth, and two still standing, and that would be Bondi and Noem. All right. Um, the last thing that I wanted to look at, I'm so annoyed. Well, annoyed's not really the right word. Disappointed's not even the right word. But Harvard, who's my alma mater, whose praises I have sung for having fought the good fight and standing up to the bullying of 47 and his administration, um, and just, not bending the knee, has indeed bent the knee. And they did it in the quiet of the evening. I get all kinds of mail from Harvard all the time where they're keeping you abreast of what's going on there, including this situation, this attack on intellectualism and universities and colleges. And I've been to virtual meetings with the president of the university and was very impressed and gave money, put my Harvard ring back on. Well, under cover of night, and at the request, of course, of the administration, they've actually gotten rid of all their DEI related initiatives so that there are entire websites that speak to the issues of Black, Hispanic, Asian, women, LGBTQ populations at the university that have been disappeared and replaced with some nebulous sounding um, office that when you go to the website, basically there's nothing there. And it's bad enough that they bent the knee, but they also did it under cover of night. Now, that just means, of course, that they're ashamed of it. And so I want to bring something up. I have a viewer who sent me an email. They had heard one of my videos where I was saying that I was just so pleased with Harvard's stance and that, people are really looking to Harvard as an example of what can be done and how you can, weather this, and even if you can't weather it, you go down with the ship, and that's a noble thing. Well, so she sent me an article. I had actually already seen the article, but an article about Harvard's involvement in slavery. That Harvard, I think it was as of 2007, started to do some real investigation about the university's interface with slavery, because it's not like slavery only happened in the South, in case you didn't know. And So they hired a guy, and he was supposed to look for the descendants of people who had been um, enslaved by people affiliated with Harvard. And they told him eventually he's doing his work, and they eventually told him to stop. You know why? Because he was finding too many descendants. So, you know, courage and doing the right thing are easy to do so long as they're convenient. But as you know, the minute it's inconvenient or uncomfortable, well, then we have to reevaluate. So I am disappointed. I wrote a letter. I'll read the letter I wrote. I wrote a letter to the president of Harvard because I got this notification, and it wasn't from the university telling me that this had happened. It was from a Harvard Alumni for Academic Freedom, which is a separate, alumni organization, and they're the ones who I found this out from. So I wrote a letter to the president of Harvard, and here's what I said. Now, I mean, not that he's going to care what I say, but you know. Dear President Garber, I wrote, I'm not just deeply disappointed, I'm horrified at Harvard's capitulation to administration demands that Black, Brown, women, and LGBTQ voices and presence should be silenced and shrouded. I'm a Black alumna, class of 1980. I have used my YouTube platform in the company of cards in case he wants to check us out to praise my alma mater for having stayed the course and having set an example for how to react courageously in the face of fascism, anti-intellectualism, and bigotry. It seems I'll need to provide my community there with a discouraging update, which is what I'm doing now. I understand how difficult it has been to take such a principled stand, but it seems those days are over. If Harvard capitulates, all others will follow suit. This is a very sad day. Please reconsider. And then I sign my name. Now, that letter's not going to do anything, but I wanted to just go on record. Taking my ring off. Yeah, you won't be seeing me wear this anymore because what are we doing? Um, so I think what I would like to look at is this decision by Harvard to say, as the French might say, to people in their community who are a large part of what makes it diverse and rich and intellectually stimulating, uh, by giving the finger to all of those people and to all of the alumni who fit that bill. Let's see how they will fare. And really, it is true that they were being squeezed really hard. They could easily have gone under. But, the motto of the school is, I don't know if you can see it, you probably can't. Veritas, veritas, truth. So they didn't even do the truthful thing and talk to us, send us any kind of missive about this. We had to kind of hear it in a backdoor way. So anyway, how will this bending of the knee uh, be for them? Because we saw what happened at Columbia. They gave an inch and 47 took a mile. Because that's how a bully is. If he sees you're afraid, woo, then it's open season. But let's see. So I'm going to use the tower, and that will stand for the Ivy Tower that Harvard is. And when you think about it, I mean, not for nothing. Obviously, it's an institution of patriarchy and capitalism. So the fact that it looked like it for a minute was going to take a different kind of stance than the one you might anticipate was, I mean, exciting. But in the back of my mind, I always thought, how long is this going to last? Well, lasted until last night. Want to keep my ASMR voice for you. All right, we're looking at Harvard. I'm so disappointed. What is that expression? I'm, I'm not, I'm shocked, but I'm not surprised. I guess that's what you're supposed to say. Shocked, but not surprised. So let's look for that ivory tower and see what the consequences of this will be. So our original five are the fox, the rider, the tower that stands for Harvard, the stork, and the birds. Harvard got played by the fox. And the fox, of course, was 47 and his attorneys, who squeezed them and squeezed them and squeezed them until they said, Uncle. So they got played. And that's the message that will people will take away from this. There's Harvard. They hope, they think that, this will save them in some way, positive change. But really, all it does is create buzz and talk. I can mirror it with the first card about how they got played. Okay, so here's the fox. Clarifiers are the star, the young woman, and the child. They got played. And in the future, they will be seen as weak. You've got the young woman there, that's a yin card, sort of a capitulating, take me kind of a card, and the child. They're diminished in the eyes, certainly of the alumni, and probably in the eyes of the academic world who are looking to them to hold the line. So they got played. Second card, what is the takeaway from this? We have the bear, the snake, and the garden. The message is that they got played by the fox. They also got played by the bully. This is really damaging to them, snake, in the eyes of the public. So it's the same thing that we saw before, just using different words, different cards. And then we see it again. Here's Harvard. Their reputation, which, it's a beloved institution. Da, 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 da. That's a coffin. They are not seen the way they were seen 24 hours ago. They're not viewed in that same way. Certainly not by me and by a lot of the people that I know. So again, they thought, we need some breathing room, so we'll give him this thing. We'll sacrifice, you know, the color and the women and the LGBTQ. We'll sacrifice them so that he'll leave us alone. Because for one thing, we need that foreign student revenue. So, you black people and you women and you Hispanic, whatever, we can sacrifice for you because we want that foreign money. We don't want him cutting that source off. But did it really make things better? Doubtful. Again, Colombia is the example. And in fact, they have just created for themselves a cycle. The more that they give up, the more they'll be expected to give up. That's what's happened at Colombia. The more they do, the more will be expected of them by this administration. So, again, there's a lot of talk, a lot of buzz. Alumni are not happy, current students are not happy. I mean, it's awful. Um, this is going to create a lot of dissension. And people will say, you know what? I don't know. I had you in my long range planning. I was going to leave some money to Harvard in my will. Not that I was, but there are people who do have a lot of money and they were going to leave it in their estate plan. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Cutting it off, cutting you all off because, you know, this is bigger than just one school saying, "Oh, okay, we'll do this." This is symbolic what they've done. It's a message to every other school, which essentially is what's the message? Lose hope, all ye who enter here, because if Harvard folds, who can stand? So, really disappointed. They will pay a price for this in many, many ways, financially, reputationally. They will be his, I don't want to say the word, female dog. Harvard now will become 47's female dog. Uh, and, you know, and again, we have received no official notification of this as alumni or current members of the community. And that's just shady as. So I will go put my ring away and find another one to put on. And you won't see that Harvard one anytime soon. If they change their minds, maybe. But the fact that they did it in such a shady way, they're ashamed of it, and I think they're stuck now. Um, so this is a dark day um, for those of us who were uh, so complimentary and so delighted that they were doing the right thing, because not any longer. Anyway, so that's that on that for today. Thank you for those of you who've read my Substack and those of you who've subscribed. I've suggested that you go over there to Substack and subscribe to In the Company of Cards, which is where I write on Wednesdays. So thank you so much for that. This community is just, I mean, this is my one bit of good news for the day, right? We are at 34,370. Oh, no, 368. Just lost two people. Maybe I'll make them up after this video. Who knows? But we are getting there, and I'm looking forward to that 35,000 number. Whether or not we get there by August 1st, I'm still going to do live readings, personal readings for you all, probably on the 1st. But I will put all the information of that up later on when we're closer to the day. Okay, so that's us for Thursday, and I'll see you soon. Take care.